Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're just going to wait a minute or two before we make a start. Meanwhile, I'll just make an introduction to this webinar and also introduce the parties that are here today. This webinar is about the Portugal Golden Visa. It is one of the most popular Golden Visa residency programs in the world. And when we come to this end of the presentation, you will realize why. It's also one of the easiest ways, I suppose, to get a residency in the world. It has a very minimal required stay, and the investments amounts are not as high as some other countries. With us today is a representative from Global Migration Solutions. Global Migration are one of the larger investment and migration companies in Asia Pacific. With us today is also AFCO Legal, Jamie and Antonio from AFCO Legal, and they represent the legal team, and they will be introducing the criteria to the Golden Visa. Jamie also has a Golden Visa, and she will be explaining why she embarked on the program. And with us today is also Joao Barata from Lisbon. Antonio and Joao are from Lisbon, all the way from Lisbon. And Joao is a partner of a fund called Magnify Afterburner, and we will introduce why this fund has been so popular for the Golden Visa as well. And myself, I'm from International Property Settlements. We basically procure for you either the property or the fund that suits your requirements. Let me go through again and reintroduce everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you everyone for logging in. This webinar is about the Portugal Golden Visa, one of the most popular residency programs in the world. The first speaker today will be Desmond Ang. Desmond is a licensed migration advisor. He's also a chartered accountant, and he actually has been awarded top 25 global migration agency CEO by U Global magazine in the US. Antonio Vignal is also with us today, all the way from Lisbon. Antonio is a lawyer, both who is able to practice both in Madrid and Portugal. He's lived in Portugal for more than 20 years. He's one of the pioneers, in fact, in the global, in the Golden Visa process. And he's a senior partner of a company called AFCO Legal, and he's also an arbitration, he's also an arbitrator in the Arbitration Council. He's also a tax lawyer, by the way, so he can also cover your questions regarding taxes. And oops, sorry, I need to go up. How do I go up, Desmond? Thank you. My name is Judith. I'm a director of International Property Settlements. We basically procure for you the property you might be keen on, and also the fund that you might be keen on. We have been in Australian property for the past 12 years. 4 years ago, we embarked on this program as well, because Jamie Gui, who's the next person who will be speaking after Antonio, is she embarked on the program and she will explain why. She is also a managing director for Intergentium Asia, and they basically do relocation services as well and consultancy with this Golden Visa. And the last speaker of today will be Joao Barata. He's a partner of Magnify Afterburner. He is one of the most experienced personalities in the fund in the fund environment in Portugal. And he was previously a corporate director in ABN AMRO and also in a large private banking company. So the first speaker today is Desmond Ang of Global Migration Solutions. Desmond, to you.
Thank you, Judith. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited, to be in this webinar and to share about these programs. But I'm just going to give a quick introduction about global migration and who we are. Right, so this company was started by myself and my business partner back in 2004. So we have been around for the last 16 years, giving immigration advice. So the jurisdiction that we cover includes Australia, New Zealand, Portugal, United States, and Canada. Talking about this Portugal Golden Visa, now we started off providing the Australia and New Zealand migration advisory. We extended to include Portugal because this is the programs that I found that suits a lot of the migrants, especially if you're not ready to move over yet. Yeah, and you want to have a backup plan and a residency options outside your home country. And we are going to share with you how this Portugal Golden Visa support and helps your plans. And I'm so excited for you to hear from the rest of the speaker right after myself. Right now, this visa was being introduced by the Portuguese government back in 2012. The idea is for the non-EU citizens to acquire a residency status in Portugal with an options for you to become a European or a Europe citizens right after the 5th year. So this is a general introduction about these programs and the idea about these programs. But obviously, these programs was being designed to help the Portugal governments to bring in the foreign investor across over to the country, and in returns, you will get a residency status. Now, I'm going to give you some direction on how you should understand how this program works for you. Number one, and I'm going to share with you why these programs became so popular and it is the most successful Golden Visa programs among the European programs. Yeah. Now, number one investment to access to 27 countries. So the idea is to use Portugal as an entry point. Yeah. And when you apply for the Portugal Golden Visa, you do entitled to 2 years plus 2 years plus 2 years, or in total 6 years of residency status or residency options to live in Portugal. But of course, you do have an option to travel freely among the rest of the 27 countries. While you have the 6 years visa validity, at the end of the 5 years, you and your family member can choose to become either a PR, which is the permanent resident status, or you could choose to become a citizen of Portugal. So the beauty about the citizenship, being a Portuguese citizen, is you can then choose to live in the rest of the 27 countries. Yeah, and your children has access to the rest of the 27 countries if they were to pick one of the university throughout, the 27 countries. Number two, this program is very, I like these programs in terms of the residency requirements. As you may be aware, when you look at some of the alternative programs such as Australia in general, New Zealand, Canada, United States, most of these programs would require relatively quite a significant amount of times for you and your family member to live there. Yeah, on average, you will need to spend 50% of the times. Yeah, but if you were to compare with the Portugal Golden Visa, these programs would relatively require to spend only 14 days over the 2 years. So you have 14 days to spend. You can just make one trip, spend 14 days for the first 2 years, then you repeat the same amount of times, 14 days again on the 3rd and the 4th year. On the 5th year, you are spending 7 days. That's all the requirement plus the investment, which qualify you for the PR and citizens. So it is a very straightforward programs. It doesn't require a significant move over across to Portugal, yet you have the options to transit from the Golden Visa to PR and citizens. Number three, why this program again is successful, because this program doesn't come with some of the scheme that you might learn from the respective country. You will learn about some programs where you offer donation and they give you the passport in returns, right? You will learn about the programs where you are making certain contribution to the government's infrastructure, where they are giving you, some residency in returns. Whereas this doesn't work, for Portugal Golden Visa. The Golden Visa, in fact, is highly regulated. Any requirements from the immigration has to gone through the parliaments and pass as a legislation. So it is a highly regulated programs that comes with also the requirements on the investment. You could choose, on the real estate, or you could choose on the investment funds. In any case, you are going for the very safe and highly regulated investment products. which we will be sharing with you shortly throughout the whole session. Now, another beautiful aspect is who can be included in this visa application. You'll be very pleased to hear that you can include your parents-in-law, if they are above 65 years old and living up financially, you are supporting them. You can also include your children. Again, unlike most of the programs from other countries, where there is an age limit on the children's age of dependency, whereas when it comes to the Portugal Golden Visa, the government generally accept any age of your child so long they are financially living upon you. They are still your dependent. You are still supporting them. For example, even though if they are at the age of 25 years old, they are still in the school, they are still studying, you can include them in the application. Okay. Last but not the least, no health requirement. What does this really tell us is the government's open and welcome family members with any health condition, which includes some of the gifted children, that are not acceptable, are not acceptable by the rest of the jurisdiction, but the Portugal government do welcome everybody in this, in this application. So these are the important reasons and give you some direction, for you to understand these programs better. Next, what does this golden visa really does for you? So by getting the golden visa, you and your family member can choose to live, work, and study in Portugal over the first 5 years, or rather 6 years. Your children can choose to study in the public school and entitled to all the welfare benefits, or the school education benefits. The same times, each of you are entitled to the free healthcare. And you will learn from the Jamie later on, where she's going to share with you about the medical and the healthcare. And I do encourage you to read up how the Portuguese government managed the pandemic. In fact, it came up as #1, in the whole entire region, European region, and they have managed to curb and manage this COVID very well. Now, talking about freedom of movement in the Schengen area, some of you might carry the passport where you are required to apply for respective visa whenever you travel. By you getting the Portugal Golden Visa, you have the Portuguese Golden Visa residency card, where that will be used for the travel, free for travel within the 27 country. Okay. Importantly, you can get the citizenship, and you can reunify any of your family member by becoming a citizen of, Portugal. So this is very important. In layman terms, you sponsor your family members for them to also become a citizen of Portugal. Last but not the least, again, Portugal Golden Visa, these programs is doing well, not just because of the low residency requirement, not because of highly regulated investment options, but as a country, the governments do encourage the migrants and do enjoy certain tax benefits if they are coming in under the Golden Visa status. Okay, now these are the 27 countries that are opening up to you and your family member when you get the residency and become a citizen subsequently. You could choose, imagine, when your children wish to study, at any of the country, including Ireland, if they want to do medicines, so your child would enjoy the education benefits. When they are there ready, to look for a job, there are 27 countries for them to choose from, and each and everybody of you do also enjoy the medical benefits from the rest of from these 27 countries. Okay, and this is just a quick summary on when you become a citizen, what is your entitlement. So just a quick summary again: live and work and study at any of the 27 countries, free public school education from primary, secondary to tertiary education, free healthcare, and free movement. And if you have the passion in the political scene, you have the voting rights. Okay, so this is just a quick summary, and I think by now you have some idea And you see how powerful this program is. When I talk about Portugal Golden Visa, myself, you know, my eye blinks because I have such a strong passion. And where, you know, I started, and those who know us and know me, you know, I always very passionate with Australia and New Zealand because that's where we started. But until I found the Portuguese Golden Visa, I know that this is a program that we must deliver to our clients. Yeah. And for that reasons, we chose Portugal, you know, as an entry point for our clients to access to the whole entire, you know, European region. All right. And this is my sharing for the time being. And I really like to pass the floor over to the next speaker, Antonio, our lawyer, to carry you through in more detail. Antonio, please.
Thank you, Desmond, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antonio, and I will be discussing today the main characteristics of the Portuguese Golden Visa program, residency by investment program, as you know. In terms of general requirements, we're looking at investors or main applicants that are 18 years of age or older. As Desmond has already mentioned, you can regroup up to 3 generations within the same application. Of course, we need to show that applicants and family members do not have anything to show for in their criminal records. So clean criminal records is necessary. Again, health clearance is not required. You will or might be required if you're going to live in Portugal. Health insurance. Transfer, of course, the minimum required investment amount to Portugal. This is, after all, a residency by investment program. Comply or choose one of the acceptable forms of investment. Visit Portugal on an average of 7 days during the first 5 years, and also maintain your required investment during that period. In terms of the application process, what would we be looking at right now? Well, first of all, and we will be discussing this in greater detail a little bit further on, right now and until the end of the year, we will try to shorten the whole application process, at least until we submit the application. So initially, it will be an initial consultation to assess each applicant's situation, collect the documents, draft powers of attorney, take care of the tax file opening. Each applicant will require a Portuguese tax number and also open the bank account. Very important part of the whole process. You will need to transfer the investment money to the bank account. In terms of fund selection, then of course you will need to choose which fund you will be going with, transfer the money into that fund. And then the Golden Visa application itself is a 2-part process. First is online, and that takes usually a little over 2 months to clear. Once that happens, then we would be allowed, or the applicant would be eligible to proceed with the next phase, which is the so-called biometrics, not just the biometrics, but also the resubmission of the whole stack of documents. Okay, so that would be here we see in this slide number 7, first trip to Portugal. Then once we get the final approval, the first card is released, and the validity of that first card is 2 years, and each renewal is also valid for 2 years. Okay, so within that 2-year period, you would need to spend 14 days, although for the purpose of obtaining citizenship later on, you do not need to fulfill 6 years. 5 years would be good enough. Still, you get that extra year, which is a benefit, because we will be waiting for that citizenship application to be processed. So initially, during the first 5 years of the program, you can live, work, or study in Portugal. You need to maintain the investment and show up in Portugal on those, on average, 7 days a year, 14 days every 2 years. After you have completed year 5, then you can choose between permanent residency. Again, this allows you to live, work, and study in Portugal, or proceed with citizenship, and that allows you to live, work, and study within any of the 27 EU countries. Okay, and then you can sell your investment, and you don't need to worry about how much time you actually spend in Portugal once you become a citizen. As mentioned just now, we look at the 3 cards over the 5 or 6 year period. So for year 1 and 2, the processing fee is 533 and the cost of the card 5,325 euro. And then for years 3 and 4, exactly the same in terms of processing fee, and then the card is a little less, about half of the initial card. And we would be looking at around 12,000 plus euro per person. And this is for, of course, main applicants and family members. After 5 years, as also discussed, then we can move into PR or citizenship. So what are our investment options? Most popular one might be investment in real estate. And these are the rules as they stand now until the end of this year. Okay, so any kind of investment in real estate anywhere in Portugal, 500,000. If we look at the lower populated areas, this will be reduced to 400,000. So you get a 20% reduction there. You can also choose any property, an existing property, and then proceed with a rehabilitation or refurbishment project. So the cost of the property and the cost of the project should reach at least a minimum of 350,000 euro. Again, you get the 20% discount if that property is located in the low areas of low density of population. The second, I would say the second most popular choice, and the one we will be also focusing on today, is private equity and venture capital funds, minimum 350,000 euro. Bank deposit in Portugal or purchase of Portuguese public debt, etc. That would take you to 1 million euro. And then if you are of the entrepreneur spirit, you can also develop any kind of project in Portugal, and as long as you create 10 jobs, that would be good enough. In terms of funds, so what funds do qualify for golden visa purposes? Well, number one, this option exists since 2018, November 2018. Of course, you need to check, or we would need to check in this case, that the fund not only exists, but is also registered under the CMVM, which is the Securities Exchange Commission. According to the golden visa rules, the fund must invest at least 60% of its capital within Portugal or in Portuguese companies. The types of investment are virtually limitless as long as the investment takes at least place 60% in Portugal. So we're looking at real estate, energy, technology, any type of venture, really. And the minimum investment threshold is 350,000. Now, I did mention just a few minutes ago that we're looking at these rules until the end of the year, and that is because starting on January 1st, 2022, some of these thresholds will increase, and this is the case of the fund option, which will hike from 350,000 to 500,000 euro. So just to further expand on the golden visa program, again, the changes that will come into effect on January 1st, real estate investments in the highly populated areas of Portugal would be, or it will be, excluded. And this would affect residential properties, not commercial ones. So if you focused or looking at residential properties in Lisbon, Porto, or the more populated areas, namely the Portuguese coast, then you would have to make a very swift move, very, very swift move, because you only have until the end of the year. And then, well, as mentioned also just a few minutes ago, then we were also looking at the fund option, which is raised from 350,000 euro to 500,000 euro. And the capital transfer route, the bank deposit or purchase of Portuguese public debt, etc., that is also going to be increased from 1 million to 1.5 million. So again, that is the reason why, as mentioned at the top of my presentation, we need to make a swift move if you decide on embarking on this project until the end of the year, if you want to take advantage of the existing rules. And that's all from me right now. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I will pass on the baton to Desmond. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. I think the next speaker we would like to invite Jamie to take over. Jamie, please.
Yeah, I think before we start off the presentation, I think we'll just have a quick video and look at the video. Yeah, thank you.
Judith?
Yeah, Desmond, I might need you to help me play the video.
Sure. Let me just get the file.
So while waiting for the video to come along, basically, just for those who came in later to join the webinar, my name is Jamie, and I'm a Portuguese Golden Visa holder myself. I'm currently in my 4th year of my Golden Visa. In fact, like I will be going to Portugal actually in next week actually to fulfill part of my requirements of stay. And later on, after this video, I will share with you the reasons why I decided to embark on the Portuguese Golden Visa from a personal perspective, and hope that will inspire you to do so as well.
Great, Jamie. Let's have a look at the video.
In an increasingly globalized world, how does a country stand out? This is a country made of land and sea, a crossroad between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, a link between cultures and continents. This is the homeland of talented people, a founding member of the Euro, a gateway to a market of 500 million people. This is the home of a world leader in fast and ultra-fast chargers for electric vehicles, a country that produces more than half of its energy out of renewable sources. A privileged partner for innovation. Every day, more and more companies come to work and think with us. We also produce cars, but above all, we think cars. Think the green road ahead of us, and think the future. Innovation is taking the country to new frontiers. This is the world's biggest cork producer, transforming cork for the most traditional and revolutionary uses, from the top of the most precious wine bottles in the world to thermal shields and rockets and spaceships destined for space. This is a leading tourist destination in the world, a competitive and sustainable location, a top country in providing technological services, host of great international events integrated in some of the most important value chains in the world, that attracts and keeps some of the most talented people. So how does a country stand out in an increasingly globalized world? Well, I guess it's by welcoming the world and bridging cultures. Portugal, talented and welcoming.
So moving on, basically, I think a lot of people in general wanted to ask me, and I'm quite proud to say that probably I'm one of the very first Malaysians who embarked on this journey. And it's probably one of the best decisions I think I've made. When the opportunity came along, we did a lot of research basically on the Portuguese Golden Visa before deciding to embark on this Portuguese Golden Visa journey. And what we found very pleasant was we actually met quite a number of Malaysian friends who actually were in Portugal, and I spent quite a significant amount of time with them, and I found out that the country is really very, very livable. It is definitely voted to be the third most peaceful country in the world after Iceland and New Zealand, which is a great accomplishment. And I think that itself is also quite important, as you can see just now through the video itself, right? We're talking about bridging cultures. I think one of the unique things for a lot of us, especially for those who are from Malaysia, we will appreciate the fact that our country is very multicultural and multiracial to the extent. And that is something that I have to say that when I've traveled and dealt and lived and worked in many different countries. But I have to say that I was very pleasantly surprised in Portugal. I felt it was very, very much similar to Malaysia, whereby it was very multicultural and multiracial. And it's something that I think it is quite hard to find actually. And I was very pleased that actually that Portugal was one of it. And hence, that's why also Forbes actually listed Portugal as one of the best places for residency and also for second passport due to the peacefulness and how the people were in general, right? And the other thing is also that is quite important is the fact that it also is ranked 12th in the world for having the best healthcare system in the world. Now, what I also really like about this is, as Desmond was mentioning, how they actually managed the pandemic. They were probably the first to get into lockdown, just like Malaysia. We were the first to get into a lockdown last year. But they are also one of the very few European countries. In fact, when I'm going next month, I feel very safe because 85% of the population is vaccinated, which is probably the highest percentage amongst all the other European countries in terms of vaccination rates. So, and that goes back actually to also, as I mentioned, because I find that the Portuguese people are also very obedient in general. And they actually took the whole COVID situation quite seriously. And in addition to that, I'm really happy that they are also ranked so well in terms of healthcare for the reasons because I think they also treated everyone equally. And one of the best benefits about being a Golden Visa holder is the fact that you get to enjoy the healthcare just like any other PR or citizen. They don't really care about your status of residency, but you are actually able to access the healthcare, especially the public healthcare, equally as a citizen or even as a PR. So that itself, I think it's very important for those who are planning to move there or live there during the next 5 years, or for those who are just having a holiday. I mean, honestly, I'm even thinking whether I should take my third booster jab next week. So that actually gives me gives a lot of people the security for having for being ranked 12th in having the best healthcare. And that surpasses UK or even Australia in terms of ranking, if you were curious which are the other countries. So because of that, I think it's definitely worth considering. And that's a major consideration in terms of your migration for residency. The other thing to also note is most people actually do choose the option of the citizenship, because the citizenship then actually will allow you to have the 5th most powerful passport in the world, and you are able to travel up to 186 countries visa-free. The other thing that's also very interesting about Portugal is, as you can see during the videos, the video itself has shown that they do a lot of manufacturing and outsourcing and OEM work. And that's also largely due to the fact that their minimum wage is only about 600 euros. And that's why they are doing a lot of production and manufacturing for the rest of Europe. And of course, due to its beautiful weather, Portugal boasts of its 300 sunny days every year. And it's hailed as the Bali of Europe. And because of that, tourism has increased year on year. I'm also very glad to also announce that actually, personally, when we actually bought a property, and our property during the pandemic period actually still continued to make money, and we still have been making Airbnb income, which is really great despite the pandemic situation. We are still seeing the returns on a monthly basis. The other thing that's also pretty good about the program is the fact that the education perspective is very promising. Portugal, being a country in the EU, actually takes part in this program called the Erasmus program. And the Erasmus program actually allows you to actually do like a twinning degree, just like in Malaysia, we have our twinning degrees, but they have their version of twinning degrees whereby they will do 2 years in Portugal, and you can transfer your credits basically to Germany or Switzerland or any of the European countries. Or they even have some partner exchange universities, like with the US University of San Diego or University of Queensland in Australia, whereby you can do your final year and you end up paying only what a local PR will pay for that final year as well. So that ends up becoming very affordable because instead of spending, let's say 50,000 USD in education per year for tuition fees, you only end up paying about 6,000 euros per year for education fees. So definitely something worthwhile looking at, even if you don't choose the PR citizenship. If you choose just to join the education, that's great savings that comes along with it. And of course, not forgetting, they also have very good MBA programs, and it's ranked very highly globally for the MBA programs. The other thing that's also very good about Portugal is not just about the golden visa and the real estate and so on. And as I mentioned to you, tourism has been growing year on year. A lot of people are migrating. The British this year, actually, due to Brexit, found out that the only way that they can continue working and living in Europe is actually to do the golden visa as well. But in general, there's also a huge growth in foreign investment. Portugal has attracted a lot of foreign investment. They are really at the forefront of attracting a lot of foreign direct investments. Since 2012, they were probably the first country that came out, and it's actually on the positive GDP all the while. And this is also largely due to the fact that they have encouraged their very pro investors. We have very big companies like the Three Gorges in China who actually bought into the electricity EDP, which is our Tenaga Nasional equivalent. They bought a huge stake in it. We have companies like Huawei and so on who has opened, and Mercedes-Benz as well, who's decided to do their technology base in Portugal itself. So, and many more that has actually invested and continue to use Portugal as its base. And because of that, hence the funds are also growing. And I think Joao and the team basically has identified that there's so much growth and so much opportunities because Portugal is still growing, and hence that's why the fund investments will definitely be something that is very interesting for the golden visa applicants. I'm going to pass over now some of the eligible options and investments that one can actually consider, because I think Antonio has highlighted earlier on, there will be some changes in the legislation, and that's why we are here for you, and she will go through the options that are still available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So in terms of the investment options to embark on this wonderful program, and again, I'd like to mention one of the most popular residency programs in the world is real estate. So you can buy a property for, if it's anything, 500,000 in Lisbon, Porto, and some parts of Algarve, which is the main cities. And if it's anything in the interior, it's 400,000. If the property is for renovation and in the urban rehabilitation area, then that criteria drops to a minimum of 350,000 in Lisbon, Porto, and some of the main cities. And then In the interior, that criteria drops to 280,000. In terms of properties in Lisbon, Porto, and some parts of the Algarve, the main cities, they won't qualify for the golden visa as of the end of the year. So because property transactions take a little bit longer, so we are in sort of, at a time where the decision is imminent, particularly if you want to invest in a property. Funds, however, the investment timeline is a little bit shorter. So funds are a great option at the moment. You can, in the minimum criteria is to invest 350,000. That will increase in terms of the 1st of January 2022 to 500,000. So if you intend on embarking on this on the program and invest in a fund and only want to invest a minimum of 350,000, this is a good time to do so. We are in good time, but we will need to start the process very soon. And in terms of a company, if you want to invest in a company and provide 10 jobs, that will also still qualify. We're focusing on funds in this webinar because it is actually a great option, and there is a great fund which we will introduce later. So why choose funds? It is a good option because it's a lower investment option. Rather than 500,000, you only have to invest 350,000. There are a lot of tax efficiencies relating to a fund. In general, you don't have to pay stamp duty and purchasing minimal purchasing costs. These funds are also on capital gains tax. You don't have to pay that most of the time on the funds. And also these funds are managed by qualified managers who understand the investment environment in Portugal and are experts in the area. The funds are also carefully regulated. So they're regulated by CMVM, which is the Securities Markets Commission, the Bank of Portugal as well, and the tax authorities. These all have a role in making sure that the funds are in compliance with the many strict rules that they impose on these funds. To ensure that it's managed properly. Many ask us, how do you compare funds in terms of real estate? What we can say is at the moment, funds are easier to invest in for the purposes of the golden visa because the transaction time takes shorter. But in general, the investment threshold is 350,000. Real estate ranges from 280,000 to 500,000. The entry taxes for funds is basically you don't have to, there's no entry taxes. For real estate, there is transfer tax and also stamp duty. It's an average of around 7% that can be budgeted into the property's purchasing costs. Annual tax, it also can be zero for funds. And in real estate, there's a municipal council tax, and also taxes on your yield is 28% or 12.5%, depending on whether you rent out long-term or like Jamie, we rent out, we assist you to rent out short-term Airbnb style, and that's a 12.5%. And in general, the income potential annual distributions for funds range from 3 to 6%. They also have a target return of around 10% or even more. The yield is 3 to 6% for real estate, and generally that is the yield. If it's a long-term, net yield is around 3%, and if it's short-term, the net yield can be around 6%, short-term rental. In terms of the security, the funds have diversified assets, and it's regulated by CMVM and other government agencies. Real estate, you have the property asset as your security. And the management of the funds is usually handled by, is always actually handled by professional fund managers. That is a part of the strict regulations. And real estate is managed by either yourself or a professional management company, such as an Airbnb operator or a long-term lease operator. And also control funds. It's in the hands of the fund managers, but they are experts in the area. In real estate, you have full control of it. Flexibility, funds are, there's usually a set timeline. In this case of 6 years, in this particular fund, usually it's between 5 to 7 years. It is a closed, usually the funds are fairly closed-ended funds. And in real estate, it's you have all the flexibility, what you like to do with your property. Capital gains tax for funds is 0, and real estate, it's subject to a capital gains tax of 28%. So you can see there are actually many benefits in investing in funds, and lately most of our Golden Visa applicants have actually chosen funds as the route. Also, it's hands-free, sort of hands-off investment, and it's completely managed for you. So again, the pros and cons. The pros of the funds is it's a lower investment. You get diversification as well in terms of your investment, so you're not relying on 1 or 2 properties. You have tax savings, there's lower acquisition fees, and less personal management. So basically, you don't have to manage it yourself. And how we choose a good fund, we look at the strategy and diversification of the fund and the fund manager's strength, as well the market knowledge, the track record. If the funds is a company, we look at debt or equity hybrid, and what kind of companies they invest in. We look at the commitment, is the amount to be raised realistic. We look at the fees relating to the fund. We look at if it's a real estate, the location, the tenant market, any potential for regentrification and capital appreciation. We look at the returns as well, the target returns, dividends, the profit share. We also look at whether there is a guaranteed buyback option. And this particular fund that we are going to share with you today has a buyback option, and it is the only fund with a buyback option. So that's why this fund has been one of the more popular funds that we have seen our clients have interest in, and that's why we chose to promote this fund today. Also, there is an exit strategy, a clear exit strategy for this particular fund. Because of the buyback option, I suppose the exit strategy has been clear as compared to the other funds. The investor profile as well, we've looked into that, and also the timing and life cycle of the when the subscription ends and when the closing is, and the extension periods and all that. We look into these factors, and Joel will be presenting all the, I suppose, arguments as to why this fund that he has, or he's a partner of, has actually ticks off many of these boxes. So let me introduce Joel Barata. Joel is a partner of Magnify Afterburner, and this is the fund that he is going to present today. And yeah, so to you, Joel.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. First of all, Magnify, who are we, and where are we coming? So we are a private equity company in Portugal. We've started our business 4 years ago. Before of that, we were a consultancy company, and we decided that because of our skills, all of us, the 5 partners, we come from banking, we come from consultancy. You can see in the slide that our experience in the market, it's, I would say it's relevant because, and I myself, I come from a local bank with Millennium, and 10 years with a Dutch bank, ABN AMRO in Geneva, doing wealth management. And after that, in the hedge funds business and private equity business. So coming back to our fund, because that is the most important, we have decided to study the supermarket chains in Portugal and the new concept for food and retail. And this is not from yesterday. This started 4 years ago. We've noticed, and it's clear that the idea for food and retail has changed a lot. In the past 10 years, if you look at the main brands in the market, you would see huge stores where people used to go on Saturday or Sunday for shopping with all the family and so on. You know how it is. But nowadays, the story is totally different. The main brands in the market, and we are talking only about 3 brands. We've chosen the 3 most important ones for us, which are Lidl, Aldi, and Mercadona. Although looking at the slide, you can see that the market share in Portugal is quite well spread, and the two first brands are Portuguese, Continente and Pingo Doce. But we try to see what were the best brands and ones that are joining the market and are growing faster than the others. And the two German ones, Lidl and Aldi, are very, very important. But if you pay attention, one of the smallest one is Mercadona. And the small, why? Because they are the new entrants. They've started 2 years ago. They joined Portugal coming from the north. They have about 25% of market share in Spain, and they will grow a lot in the near future in Portugal. This is quite important. And it's the main reason why we have decided to support them coming to the south of Portugal, especially for the Lisbon area, and to start implementing and building their own stores. So what do? We support them in growing. We invest in food and retail. And coming back for the recent story, we can see that during this pandemic crisis we've lived in the last 2 years, food and retail were the most resilient sectors in the economy. Apart from health and from communications, food and retail, they had a brilliant behavior during all these 2 years. So this is one of the reasons why we decided to help them. And for that reason, we set up a fund that is going to invest in this sector. And also we have decided to bring Golden Visa to the equation. And although looking at the market and the Golden Visa market in Portugal, it was clear for us that most of the Golden Visa applicants, they are very much more interested, or they were very much more interested in going for real estate and for most tangible things, which is understandable. So in order to fight against that assumption, we have decided to study, and we did it with the regulator, the local regulator, how about the chances of having a put option or a buyback agreement in our operation. And we found out the best way to do it. So it's my pleasure to say that for this Series 1 fund and for Golden Visa purposes, we have a special class, and that special class allows the investor on the 6th year of investment to ask for their initial money back. This is very interesting because you have to stay, as you know, you have to stay a minimum of 5 years as investor in order to obtain the Golden Visa. But on the 6th year, if you want to, you are entitled to receive your money back and up to 4% of performance on a yearly basis as an internal rate of return. We are not talking about a coupon. We are not talking about interest. What we're talking about is the way the fund performs. And we are of the opinion that you are able to receive a 4% yearly basis as performance. And why and how do we achieve this? And this is very interesting because the idea for series changed a lot during these years that we've been thinking about the fund. And the main reason is that once this is so, or the appetite is so high for this fund, that we have received invitations from international funds to act as a forward purchaser, which means that for every single unit the fund will go or will develop, it is already sold. This allowed us to have a revolving inside the fund of 2.5 to 3 years, which is the time for study the location, having municipalities and licensing in place, and construction already done. On that very moment, because we have long-term rental contracts with the brands, more than 20 years, the international funds decided that this was a very good operation for them, especially pension funds, because they will keep the asset with them for the life of the asset. We will stay up to the moment that everything is done, everything is in place, and the first rent is due. So by saying this, it is our conviction that on the 30 year of investment, we are able to revolve the fund, generating profit and distributing that profit. This is really, really special, and is apparently, I think it's almost unique in the market. So why not to bring it to the Golden Visa clients? Why not? Here we are. This is the opportunity. So the fund itself, it has no subscription fee. And this is important because most of them in the market, you have to pay to join the fund or to buy the fund. Our exit strategy is already defined. Although in the past we thought that by having two sub-funds in the fund, one of development and the other one of management, the first idea was to profit the fact that we are a private equity fund, meaning that no taxes are involved within the fund. The management side would be capable of buying what is produced by the development side. But once we have these new comers, the forward purchases funds interested in acquire what is being developed, the management part of the fund will have their operation totally on a totally different status that the one that was previously designed, which is we think that we are able to, through the management part of the fund, to acquire existing operations in the market. Most of the supermarkets, the building or the premises do not belong to the brand. They are owned by family-owned funds or family offices or private individuals. So these owners sometimes, and for liquidity matters, they intend to sell. And what do? We are able to approach and to buy the operation and to keep it in the fund by receiving rents. So, but this is the management side. The other one, the development side, I think it's much more important and much more profitable, because we used to say that we start from scratch. We detect the opportunities, we go to visit the places, we select the place, we negotiate with the brands, and we make the construction. So this is a fantastic operation. We are being very well succeed in promoting these, not only among the Golden Visa community, but also within the international funds, like some American funds, and the things are running very well. And it's a great opportunity, I think, to promote this fund among your community. And just welcome to come to Portugal. Just come and see, and it will be nice. Thank you very much for having me. I'm totally open to have special Zooms with every investor that wants to know more about us, about the product. And but one advice: just take care with the timing, because as per January the 1st, the actual 350,000 minimum of investment will be 500,000. It's not so heavy, but if you can profit the time to come, just do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joel. So we have a couple of questions, and actually you have answered the questions in your talk today. So one of the questions was about the exit. Is there an exit strategy for this fund? And yes, there is. It's the only fund, I might say, with a buyback, and thus this fund has received a lot of attention and has been one of the more popular funds, particularly amongst our clients. Joel, would you like to just repeat the the exit strategy of after 6 years. I will replay it now. This one.
Yes. Okay. It's my pleasure. So as I mentioned before, when we're starting putting this fund, let's say to draw the fund, we are not thinking of selling the units, especially on the development side, because the idea was, and if you look at the fund has two legs. I mean, two sub-funds, one for development and one for management. The development is the one that does everything starting from scratch, as I mentioned before, by detecting the places, taking care of municipality licenses, the planning and the construction. And when everything is done, the first idea or the previous idea was to, inside the fund, to sell from the development to the management side. And on the management side, to keep the asset for the 10, 12 years of the fund. Okay, this was the first idea. But things are changing, and they are changing very, very fast. And the main change is that international funds, at least two, the ones that are now in due diligence with us, they approach us and offers the opportunity to, instead of keeping the units within the fund, although in the management side, they were interested, with a good pricing, of course, to acquire every single unit as ready and prepared to be rented. Because when construction is over, it started the rental contract with the brand. And on that very moment, instead of being ourselves receiving the rent, we sell the asset to this international fund. And with this new liquidity, we will put the liquidity in the fund, and it's another game. And why so? Because we have a huge pipeline. Let me tell you that for the moment, we have 9 units in our pipeline. The first 3 of them already starting construction this January 2022. So the opportunity of generating profit, of mitigating risk and having our operation running properly, it's fantastic.
Okay, that's
This
great.
is the exit.
Yeah, so that's the exit, and we hope we have satisfied your criteria on the exit. Okay, Antonio, the next question is for you. What is the timeline? I think we have covered this. What is the timeline, and when might be the latest that the client might need to make the application for this golden visa if they want to invest 350,000 into the fund?
Well, the latest I would say now. Because opening a bank account takes time, ensuring that we collect all the relevant documents takes time. And if we don't want to be pressured, and if we don't want to be, if we don't want that final date of December 31st, close the door on us, I would say make no bones about it. Just if you have a decision, if this is something you would like to pursue, do not waste any time and get on the program as soon as possible.
And another question: can we open a bank account from over here, from remotely, I suppose, and with which bank?
Well, that would be possible. Nevertheless. Well, there are a number of any banks. Right now, we're trying to work with those that provide the fastest response, because there is a rush by many people who have decided to take advantage before year's end of the current conditions. And that is why I would not pinpoint any single bank, but rather there's a large number of banks, or a pool of banks, that we can work with. And depending which one can provide the fastest opening process, that's the one we would be going with.
The next question, I suppose I can answer. How many golden visas have we processed? I'm not sure about Antonio, but we have processed from here around 90 golden visas. I'm proud to say we have 100% success rate. Most of our clients purchase property, but we have certainly seen that the last 10 clients have actually embarked on the fund option. And out of those 10, all of them have selected this fund as one of their options to invest in, and that is mainly because of the guaranteed buyback, but also because of the investment options of the fund being in supermarkets. I think that many of us, due to the pandemic, realized that the supermarkets were the only place we can shop, and we're buying things or spending money. And also, I think that food is something we all need, and so I think that this investment option on this investment diversification into sort of our own investment portfolios make a lot of sense. And one question for you, Antonio, about reunification. What about if my children are more than 18 years old? I have a child that is 22 years old. Can I reunify my 22-year-old?
Yes, that is possible, as long as we can also prove that the child is financially dependent. And this means proving that he is still single, of course, that he does not have a family of his or her own, and that the child is still studying, obviously not making any income by himself. And also bear in mind that these conditions must be fulfilled throughout the program. So while, yes, it is possible, we need to be mindful of these requirements.
Okay, I am mindful of time. We will take one last question, and then actually we will put up our Desmond, if you mind changing the slide to our contact details over there. So do contact either one of us and we will be able to respond with a question. Some of your questions are consultative and we need to inquire with you regarding family dynamics, the time and when you want to embark on the program and all that. So we will be setting up Zooms. You will have a free Zoom with Antonio, a consultation with Antonio. Please take advantage of that and contact us to get this free Zoom. One last question is, let me read the question first. Okay, with the investment of this fund and obtaining the golden visa, can I pledge this amount of euro, 350,000, which is invested in the fund to the bank, e.g. a Lian, who can offer me finance to purchase my own property?
No, actually, that would not be a possibility because any investment that is part of the golden visa program needs to be unencumbered up until that minimum threshold. So if you're investing 350,000, that has to be completely free of any charges or encumbrances for the duration of the program itself.
Okay, so thank you very much from all of us. Desmond, any last words?
Yeah, well, I think this is a fantastic programs. This would really well for you and your family member if you are considering having bigger choice and bigger options and wider options for your children to decide at the later stage where about they want to go and study. This is a programs that relatively gives you a smooth transitions. From the times when you apply for the visa, we cover the full aspect of the support until the relocation. But the beauty about this is whether you decided to move there, in near future, or you intended to just acquire the citizenship after 5 years. These programs again serve all the needs, and I think this is the programs that me personally highly recommended. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joel and Jamie. Any last words?
No, just again, if there is anything I can do, just send me an email and we will arrange a Zoom. Okay, I'm here for you.
Thank you. So yes, we can also Zoom with Joel to go through actually the documents. There are several documents. The fund also does a KYC, and so we can do the documents and also the call with you. So thank you very much. Jamie, any last words?
Thank you so much again for joining us today. I think for a lot of you who have been thinking about doing the Golden Visa for a while, I really want to encourage you to take it seriously. And as Antonio said, actually, the deadline was like yesterday. But we are able to assist you to push forward some last-minute applications. We are reserving several spots just for today's webinar. But in general, yes, it's true, deadline was yesterday. But we, having been the pioneers of introducing the Golden Visa in Malaysia, we really have the process mapped up to the T. And we are also confident that we are able to bring the clients through. But do not hesitate anymore, and do give us a call and arrange for a quick complimentary consultant Zoom session, so that we can actually try to map out everything as soon as possible. And I'm sure you'll be very happy to have us to be your team handling your applications, hopefully.
Jamie will be in Portugal in 2 weeks, so also contact us if you want pictures of anything, and we'll be all kind of together in 2 weeks, probably in Antonio's office. So thank you very much for joining us today, and do contact one of us for the next Zoom. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Obrigada. Ciao.
Bye-bye.